Estate investors, 401k savers, folks who are looking to buy their next property, or just folks who are just trying to make wise, smart decisions and be ahead of the game. Listen, I'm going to be doing a four-part series on tariffs, trade wars, and market losses, and how to protect your wealth in unpredictable times. My name is Jeff Taylor. And I want to thank you for just having a moment of your time and to introduce to you a series that I'm doing where I'm going to be focusing on helping you protect yourself regardless what the market does. Because this series isn't just about education. It's about protection. It's about positioning. And it's about making sure you never lose money and you position yourself to never run out of money, especially without your permission, ever again in life. So let me start with a simple question. What is the real cost of a global headline to your personal wealth? Think about it. You wake up in the morning, you check the news, or you check your cell phone, and you see something like, "Hey, new tariff announced, interest rates hike coming, stock market drops 800 points, China retaliates in trade wars," right? And for most people, that's just background noise. But for the prepared, those are signals, ladies and gentlemen. And because those headlines don't just affect governments and CEOs, they affect you. They affect your 401k. They affect your IRAs. They affect your property value. They affect your tax exposure, your access to liquidity, and it impacts you on what decisions you need to be making because you might be getting ready to be laid off. But it doesn't matter the conditions or the circumstances. The question is, are you positioned and are you prepared so when those things happen, you don't end up in a negative scenario? Let's talk a little bit further about this. So here's a deeper problem, right? Most people don't have a financial strategy that's built to handle global stress or even regional stress. They have a strategy that works what? When things are calm, when everything is working out just fine, when everything is going their way. Is that you? Is that the kind of person you are? Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, what happens to our wealth is that we are impacted because we are responding rather than positioning ourselves for negative things before they happen. You don't want to be in that situation where you're constantly responding, you're constantly reacting, you're constantly trying to avoid being in a negative situation. So let's walk through this. Let's talk about what actually happens during economic instability. So the average saver might see their retirement drop by 20 to 30% every so many years, right? They may see their property value stagnate or even decline. Then they also may see when this happens, what happens? Credit tightens. If you have a line of credit, you might get a letter from your bank saying, "Hey, we're rethinking this and we're going to be reducing your line or eliminating that line of credit." And then we got the I word, what? Inflation. So inflation quietly starts stealing our purchasing power. And people do what they've been taught to do in moments like this. What do? They pause. Sounds familiar. They wait. Hmm. And they hope things bounce back. I cannot tell you. I have interviewed over 3,000 people. I cannot tell you how many people that I've spoken to are in that state where they are in a pause, they're in a waiting mode, and they're hoping that things bounce back, only to call me 6 months later and even 6 years later saying, "Jeff, I should have been proactive. I should have better positioned myself to protect myself from losing money." And I don't want to see you fall into that trap. So with those pause, with that uncertainty, that's where real losses begin. And because in times of global or regional disruption, you're either prepared or exposed. Listen to me, family. Listen to me, investors. Listen to me, 401k savers. Listen to me, IRA holders. You're either prepared or you are exposed. There is no in between. So let me give you some quick content to this, right? So in 2008, the housing crash. My clients who listened to what I was teaching at the time, which is an extension of the idea of why you should carry a big, long mortgage and never pay it off. I know that sounds crazy, right? But how many people during that 2008 period lost their jobs? They lost their homes. They lost their savings because they were over leveraged and under liquid, for lack of a better way to say that. Then we fast forward to that period where in 2020, when the pandemic happened, what happened again? The market dropped what in 34% in just a matter of weeks. People were panicked. Other people got stuck financially, were harmed financially, and some lost half of a decade of their accumulated assets in a month. And I certainly hope that wasn't you. So regardless if we're talking about 2008 or 2020, the problem is the same, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again in a period where we have uncertainty, and that uncertainty is really a consequence of not being prepared. One of the things that I teach in light of the philosophy of the banker's mindset is that rule number 3 is we want to walk our clients, walk our students through the process of positioning themselves for economic uncertainty. We want to be positioned for a financial collapse. So when it happens, not only are we prepared, but we're positioned to thrive through it. Now, again, these are not stories from a history book, right? These are things that you've lived through. And they're also a wake-up call as we are in the current trade wars and the various economic volatility that we have now. And guess what? The bell is ringing. So I'm going to ask you again, is your current financial picture built to withstand the next major disruption? Because if it's not, if you are in a position where you are unprepared, doesn't it make sense to take action now to position yourself for economic disruption and then be positioned to be able to thrive through that process? Because here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen, it's not enough. It's just not enough to hope that the market recovers. It's not enough to assume that your equity is going to stay stable. It's not enough to rely on government bailouts and riding it out, especially with this administration. This administration seems to be far less liberal than previous administrations. So those are the guesses, ladies and gentlemen. And when it comes to your wealth, guessing is not a strategy. Okay, so most people are losing money in ways that they can't even see. Let me say this again. When we do a risk assessment, we evaluate your what are called negative wealth transfers. Negative wealth transfers are areas where you are losing money. They're called silent killers because they're not commonly talked about from your traditional financial professionals. Um, they have the taxes that you didn't plan for or you weren't even aware that you had. I cannot tell you how many people tell me, well, I don't have any debt, until we find that they have a 50%, $50,000, $250,000 tax hit. And taxes are debt. And they're completely surprised by that. Market losses that will take years to recover, missed opportunities because your cash is locked up in the wrong places. You see, wealth isn't always lost in the crash, ladies and gentlemen. It's lost in the positioning before the crash. So the crash occurs, or the symptoms of a crash occurs, and then everything begins to become tighter and there's less accessibility to cash. And if you're vulnerable to that, you find yourself unable to protect yourself when the crash actually occurs. So if you're depending on traditional ideas, if you're depending on traditional advice and advice tied to market conditions and a paid off property to get you through the next 20 years, ladies and gentlemen, you are not in control of your financial position. You are exposed to risk that you probably don't even know how to measure at this time. So, and then when we talk about look at this from the other side. The many people are working harder than ever and saving diligently, doing all the right things, and still feeling uncertain about the future. This is crazy to be working that hard, to be saving that kind of money, and you're still uncertain about the future. Why? And it's not your fault, right? You've been taught to save the wrong way, unfortunately. You've been taught to send extra money to your mortgage company. Yeah, that's not your fault either. You've been advised to delay taxes and not eliminate them. You've been advised to park money in places where you can't touch it without penalty. And when the economy shakes, all those decisions become what? Financial chains. And I don't want to see you hurt by that. I don't want to see you in a situation where you can't uh, position yourself to actually be able to avoid those financial losses or be able to be better positioned through those financial losses and actually thrive through it. So let's shift gears. Okay. Let's look at this through a different perspective from a different lens. What would it look like if you had a strategy that wins in any economy? What I love about despite what's going on in the world and the economy, my clients are not losing money. My clients' property equity value is actually going up. My clients' gains are protected from losses. My clients have access to liquidity. My clients are prepared. So, and what I was trying to share before, and I lost track of this in the course of me having this conversation with you. In 2008, when the market crashed 40% and property values began to fall, do you realize that the hundreds of tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars that my clients accumulated in property equity, that money was sitting in a safe, comfortable accounts that they had access to, and many of them, that became their life start over fund because they had lost their jobs, and many of them unfortunately lost their homes, but they had that emergency backup fund and they were not negatively impacted. They had reserves to fall upon that helped them start their lives over. So what would change if you had liquid reserves that grow tax-free? What would change if you had protection from market losses? I mean, how would you feel at night knowing you hear the market falls 800 points and it doesn't have any negative impact on your life? What if you had a way to reduce or eliminate interest payments? Do you realize that every debt payment that is made, and every mortgage payment that is made, and every line of credit payment that is made to the bank? This is the reason why I say debt is not the problem. The problem is the flow of cash in the wrong direction. What if you were creating interest, cash reserves, cash flow, profit, and velocity of money from your debt? That is the way that your debt should be structured. Your debt should be structured not so much to try to eliminate it as a priority, but to create those 5 miracles of money from it. If you had a system that doesn't rely on market timing or government rescue, that's what I want to talk about. That's the series that I'm teaching now. And why, and this is the why class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4 are so important. You want to make sure that you do not miss any of these series because it comes with a class summary, it comes with a quiz, and it comes with frequently asked questions regarding that particular topic and a multi-question quiz to test you to see where you are financially to better help you to think things through from a preparation and positioning state of mind. So now that you're aware that most plans are, unfortunately, unstable, I want to talk about how do we start shifting you towards something more durable, something more lasting, where you're able to take care of making sure that your retirement is structured so that it never runs out. Or if you're laid off, you don't end up chewing into your savings where it runs out, where you can learn how to recycle and recapture your money. So, but let's be clear. It's not about fear. This is about strategy. This is not about panic. This is about positioning. And the people who come out ahead in uncertain times, those aren't the ones with the biggest paychecks, ladies and gentlemen. These are the ones who have the most liquid, who have the most protection, and who have the smartest positioning. Is that the situation you want to be in? So let's talk about class 2. Register for class 1 and make sure you're ready for class 2. Because what I'm going to do is send you a preparation video to get ready for class 2. So when we're actually engaged in that class, you've had a chance to get to know what we're going to talk about so that you're prepared and you can ask engaging questions and better position yourself. You're going to learn how we use strategies that banks themselves use, how they avoid market exposure, how they make money even when the world seems to be falling apart. I'm going to show you how I help my clients start applying these strategies, these same principles, without needing to be rich, without needing to make more money, and without changing your lifestyle or stressing yourself out trying to put these things together. You just need a better system, that's all. But for now, excuse me if I could say it this way, I'm going to leave you with this. If the market dropped 30% today, would you feel prepared or would you feel panicked? If your property lost value overnight, would you be okay? And inflation doubled in the next 6 months, would your cash flow keep up? If those questions made you pause, you're exactly where you need to be. Take a moment, register for the next class, get yourself ready for class 2 or wherever you're registering. Maybe you may be watching class 3 video. Wherever you are, make sure that you register for the next class. I look forward to seeing you soon. If you have a question, you can put it in the comments if you like, or you can DM me positioning. Help me to position my finances so that I can be prepared for uncertain times. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you soon. You take care.